Fighting debut. Michael, you going with Khamzat or Chimaev?
Oh,
He's got it.
That's the tap. Khamzat Chimaev by submission, and he stays undefeated with an.
Today, we're diving into the incredible journey of one of MMA's most explosive and dominant forces, Khamzat Chimaev. From humble beginnings in Chechnya to breaking records in the UFC, Khamzat's rise to fame has been nothing short of extraordinary. But before he was a feared welterweight and middleweight contender in the UFC, Khamzat was honing his skills in another combat sport, wrestling. And it's that wrestling background that has propelled him to the top of the MMA world. So, buckle up, because we're about to take you through the background, the struggles, and the triumphs of one of the sport's brightest stars. Khamzat Chimaev, born on May 1st, 1994, in the village of brightest, which is now Chechnya, Russia, wasn't always the dominant mixed martial artist you see today. His story begins in a place marred by conflict and instability. Born into a war-torn region, Chimaev's early life was shaped by the struggles of growing up in Chechnya, where every day brought its own set of challenges. As a child, Khamzat found an escape in combat sports. He was drawn to wrestling from a young age, and it quickly became clear that this was more than just a hobby for him. Wrestling in Chechnya, a region known for producing some of the world's best grapplers, became a way of life for many young boys, and Khamzat was no different. But his wrestling journey was not just about learning a sport. It was about survival. By the age of 12, Khamzat had already started training in freestyle wrestling. He quickly developed a reputation for his strength, technique, and natural ability on the mat. With Chechnya's rich history in wrestling, there was no shortage of skilled opponents to test him, and Chimaev was more than up for the challenge. Freestyle wrestling in Chechnya is not just a sport, it's a part of the culture. The region has produced numerous world-class wrestlers, and many of them, like Khamzat, began their journeys in small local clubs. As he continued to grow, so did his skills. By his teenage years, he had already started competing in national competitions across Russia, making a name for himself in the sport. During his early years, Chechnya was a region embroiled in conflict. The Second Chechen War, which lasted from 1999 to 2009, left deep scars on the people of the region. For young Khamzat, life wasn't easy, but the tough environment fostered a sense of resilience and grit that would serve him well later in life. Khamzat's family eventually moved to Sweden when he was a teenager to escape the ongoing conflict in Chechnya. It was there that his life would take a turn that no one could have predicted. In Sweden, Chimaev continued to develop his wrestling skills, competing in local tournaments and eventually representing his new home country in international competitions. In freestyle wrestling, Chimaev became a 3-time Swedish national champion. After moving to Sweden, Chimaev wrestled at multiple clubs, including BK Athens. Considered one of the best freestyle wrestlers in the country, Chimaev won a gold medal at the 2016 and 2017 Swedish Freestyle National Championships at 86 kilograms, and in 2018, he did so at 92 kilograms. Chimaev has had a series of dominant performances in the tournament, posting an overall record of 12-0, which includes 3 pins, 7 technical fails, and holds a combined score of 105 points. It wasn't long before Khamzat's wrestling prowess started catching the attention of local MMA gyms. While wrestling was his primary focus, MMA was beginning to appeal to him, especially with the growing influence of the UFC and other organizations. It was in Sweden that he began his transition from wrestling to mixed martial arts, using his wrestling background as the perfect foundation. Chimaev's wrestling was already top tier, but in MMA, he had to round out his skill set. He began training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, striking, and other facets of mixed martial arts, but his grappling, especially his wrestling, remained the cornerstone of his fighting style. In 2020, Khamzat made his UFC debut with a bang, securing a dominant victory over John Phillips in a performance that shocked the MMA world. But this was just the beginning. Over the next year, Chimaev would go on to win 3 more fights in the UFC, all with the same level of dominance, earning him a reputation as one of the most terrifying fighters on the planet. His wrestling, combined with his relentless pressure and ability to finish opponents made him a unique and dangerous competitor. Khamzat's UFC journey was impressive, finishing his opponents in incredible fashion. He quickly racked up victories over opponents like Gerald Meerschaert, Rice McKee, and Li Jingliang, all while showcasing his incredible wrestling ability. In each fight, Khamzat's grappling was the key to his success. He would take his opponents down with ease, controlling them with an iron grip and dominating with ground and pound. His wrestling style in the cage is a direct extension of his years of freestyle wrestling experience. Chimaev's ability to dictate the pace of a fight by controlling the clinch, securing takedowns, and transitioning to dominant positions makes him a nightmare for anyone who steps in the octagon with him. And let's not forget his ability to absorb punishment, another testament to his mental toughness, forged in the fires of his wrestling background. Khamzat would surely be tested against Gilbert Burns, who arguably gave Chimaev one of his toughest fights yet. Both hurt each other throughout the fight and gave the crowd exactly what they wanted. Some could say Kamaru Usman was his toughest fight, but Usman didn't damage Chimaev like Burns did. People expected Robert Whittaker to be his biggest test, but how wrong they were. Finishing Whittaker in the first round. It goes to show how good Burns and Usman are. But beyond his wrestling, it's Khamzat's mentality that truly sets him apart. Growing up in Chechnya and then moving to Sweden, Chimaev faced adversity on a level that most people will never understand. For him, it was never just about the fight. It was about proving that he could overcome anything that life threw at him. His mindset, his hunger, and his passion for combat are what fuel his incredible rise. Khamzat has said many times that he doesn't just want to be the best in MMA. He wants to be the greatest of all time. His wrestling background gave him the foundation, but his drive, discipline, and unbreakable will are what will ultimately carry him to the top of the MMA world. So, what's next for Khamzat Chimaev? As he continues to dominate in the UFC, the future is wide open. Will he claim a UFC title? Will he continue to break records and take on the biggest challenges the sport has to offer? One thing is for sure. With his wrestling background, combined with his unyielding determination and raw talent, Khamzat Chimaev is a force to be reckoned with. And the best is yet to come. What do you think about his rise through the ranks of the UFC? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more content about your favorite fighters.